Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Sort of Like a Podcast. In this series, I will be looking at the past season of anime primarily and just give a review on it and all the stuff that aired and that I have seen and that I can share and just talk about how good it actually is. So, with me, I have two new people, and I think they want to introduce themselves. Of course, for me, I'm your host, Marcus, Pina, however you want to call me. Gil, how about you introduce yourself, please?
Uh, Hello, my name is Gil. I like me some good anime content. You know, I like Genshin. I like to watch everything from the seasonals, as long as it's good. So I almost watch everything, and that's about it.
Pretty solid. Okay. The next guest, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Mab. I also like anime. I watch a fair bit of the seasonals, although not everything, because I have plenty of other things that I watch and do, including work. Uh, but I do like a lot of fantasy and tend to way overanalyze everything. So glad to be here.
Yeah, I think
Thank you for having us.
I think that works. Um, so in this very much first recording of this episode, um, before we just head straight into the meat and potatoes of the season, the summer season that is, I'd like to give a brief shout out to the new season of Pokemon. I think the English name is like Pokemon The Journey or something like that. Anyway, I had zero interest in Pokemon prior. I haven't seen any of the previous Pokemon seasons. Maybe when I was a kid, I watched Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, I think, when it on TV when it aired. But other than that, nothing. Especially not after I just really got into anime. I haven't watched a single Pokemon series, none of it. And then this came out, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know it came out, and then someone just told me, yeah, you watch it. It's pretty good. It's very nice, and why not? I can give it a watch. And after the first 20 episodes or something, it has been a constant high. Like, it has been good episode after good episode after good episode. It's crazy. And I was very surprised at how good the series is and how well it portrays Pokemon as living beings. It's also a very new kind of way to show a Pokemon series. You have like Pokemon battles and all that, but the core of the series is more the living and the studying of Pokemon somewhere in the wilderness, and I just really like it. It has very good comedy, like surprisingly good. It has pretty good animation. I think the one from Sun and Moon was better, but this is still pretty good, and I just can highly recommend it to anyone really. Uh, and with that, concludes my shout out to Pokemon. So, for the actual season, I'd like to start off with the leftover from the prior season, which was spring, and that series is Fruits Basket 2. So, Map, I know you haven't seen any like Fruits Basket, right? Map?
I did watch some of the first season, but I don't generally do a whole lot of slice of life. So I do plan to get back to it eventually, but I haven't gotten all the way to the second season enough to discuss it.
Fair, fair. Gil, how about you? Have you like anything like? Do you know about Fruits Basket? Have you seen it? And what are your thoughts?
I watched Fruits. I'm not huge on slice of life stuff, but Fruits Basket, I don't know what got my attention, but I remember watching season one, and I really enjoyed it. And then hopped on to season two, which was amazing. It like gives you a reason to care for characters, and it's not like as everyone appears to be. And it does everything so well. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good like point of view. And for me, the first season was awesome. I loved it. It was so good. Talked about it in the prior sort of like a podcast episode. But this season was, it's hard to say. I didn't really like it. And that comes as a surprise, especially to someone
Come
from
on,
my
season two was
Discord group
good.
who really doesn't like hearing that. So the main issue that I had with Fruits Basket Season 2, and I already talked a bit about it in the last episode because, well, it was from the past season, so obviously I talked about it. So the thing about Fruits Basket Season 2 was it was too heavy, especially for me. I constantly felt down because you had all these characters that you care for, especially after the first season, which had a pretty strong finishing episode. Like a couple last episodes were pretty strong. I think you, Gil, you can follow me. Like it was pretty strong, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
There was a lot of emotions. There was a lot at stake. There was
exactly.
there was a lot happening.
Yeah, and
And
then when the
it's not just the main characters, it was also for side characters as well.
yeah, yeah. Didn't have anything really against any of the side characters in season one. And then when season two came out, so much bad stuff happened to them. So much uh, personal stuff that it was really tough to watch. And for me, it was not a pleasant watch. An anime has to be entertainment at first. It is
Mm.
entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
don't want to watch people that I like get like don't want to see them suffer. And there's a lot of abuse in the series, especially from the main villain or antagonist, Akito. And in this season, especially towards the second half, it got hard. Like there was some messed up stuff, and Akito is he's just evil, and we
Yeah.
don't really get sort of like a breather. Like there's a constant downward spiral of bad stuff happening, and you don't get any breather because the one time bad stuff happens in an episode, and next episode more bad stuff happens and more sad stuff happens, and it just weighed me down. And when the villain Akito was like it was more revealed about him, and I didn't really care. I did not care. Of course, I think last couple episodes had some really good some really good punches towards Akito, like metaphorically, but in the end it was just there was so much negativity and very little reward. And especially one character that I hate, like actually, right, he's a villain. You have to hate him, and I don't even know if the writers can write something to give like, how do you describe when like a redemption story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah, you
and
need an arc that redeems all the horrible things you've gone through.
right, because then he just stays as a bad person, which is fine, right? I mean, that's the point of a bad person, being bad and being like an antithesis to the good characters. And one character that I really, really did not like, Gil, please help me out. I don't know the name. It was the girl with the scar. I think she's the horse.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forget her name too. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. She was. Uh, Actually, yeah. I see why you had her. I can't say anything against that.
So what I thought about her was, I really don't know the name. I completely forgot about it. It was forced. It was very forced, especially the episode about her. That was just stupid. It wasn't rough. It wasn't like sad. It was like it was just stupid. You had her, and she suddenly has all this negativity and all this emo stuff, and she was like
Yes, yeah.
down, and she was always sad and angry, and then was this very sudden, like, burst of fatigue while she was in a shack or something like that. I think. Do you remember that? It was during her episodes. She suddenly had like a breakdown and fell in the shack. She was doing something. I think she saw something. Then she fell. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, huh? Like, we didn't have anything to connect for her, and we just got shoved in all this negativity and all this, like, you have to feel sorry for her because that's what we tell you to do. We show you bad stuff happening to her, so now you have to like her because she experienced very bad stuff. So she was at a very dark place, so now you have to feel bad for her, right? And it was just stupid. Like,
It
she was,
didn't feel earned.
no, not at all. It was
I
also
mean,
just very. There was no setup. There was no setup because it was her episode, and we knew very little of her prior, and then we got shoved in all this information, and like it was like 2 or 3 episodes about her, and we got not only her backstory, we got also why she feels the way she feels right now, and that all that got resolved. It was just so much and so much shoved in. I think her name is Rin. Like on the chat says, I don't know. It's a horse.
I
The,
think it
the
was
horse
Rin.
zodiac. Rin
I
doesn't
think
really
so.
matter. She was badly written. I hated her. Do not care. It way down the second season. I actually don't even know if I want to watch the third season.
Can I add something to that?
Sure, sure.
For me, season two, I enjoyed for the same reasons you actually hated.
So you
I
are a
don't know why.
masochist.
Well, no. Well, the thing is, it's kind of like, yes, like the characters do go through a lot, but there's also a lot of character building for like Yuki and like the other guys. They're learning a lot. They're improving. Obviously, it's kind of almost realistic how they just can't get away from all the bad stuff that's happening, right?
Yeah.
But seeing them like keep working for it is just keep pushing through it, all the bad stuff is it's very heartwarming, you know?
I
They
can see
just
that,
don't
yeah.
give up to it. All the bad stuff, they don't give in to it. They keep improving. As much as there's so much that goes against them, they still go against it, but not very directly, like almost in a very realistic way.
I mean, I think that was the point, to have a realistic world with supernatural elements. I think that was
Yeah,
the point.
but the way they handled it, like you were saying, the episode with the horse girl where we learn about her, even though we didn't know nothing. I I found it interesting how very specifically dark her past was.
Yeah,
And obviously, it's insert dark past equal to you start caring for the character, right?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I like me stories like that because once you get introduced to a character like that and you see a redemption arc, it's satisfying.
It is. It is, but you have to commit to that character, and you have to write that character right. So obviously, like Toru is an angel. Like, I love her. She's probably one of the best female characters I've ever seen in anime.
She's
Like,
a cutie.
like the only other one that I can think of right now that is close or maybe a smidge better is Mai from Bunny Girl, in terms of like pure good waifu, like a perfect wife material, right? There's nothing bad, nothing that could potentially like be misleading or like a problem. You have just good persons, right?
Hmm.
And Toru, awesome. Yuki, awesome. Kyo, awesome. Kagura is okay. She's not terrible. I liked her redemption mini stuff, although it was a bit too fast for my liking. Like, it was just bam and done with Kyo. It was very quickly settled. And like Momiji had all his stuff in the first season. That was really good. Hattori got way more like fleshing out, which I really liked. Hatsuharu, also really good character. Ayame, the brother of Yuki, also pretty good. I think in this season you also got more characterization, right? With a
Hmm.
flower, I think, or something like that. Also really solid. The two children, the young ones, also solid characters. Akito as a villain, I can see. Just don't really like him. He's just, and we don't have uh like a background yet, and that's missing. Right now he's just bad. He's just tormenting all of them just because. And because we don't have a reason right now, like, I'm sure there is a reason. Uh, that's all we have. All we have is an evil character who is just evil, right? We don't have anything else, and that's what we have to judge. I can't judge Akito on something that is about to happen in the future season that I haven't seen. But all that, like, most of the characters from the first season are still good. But again, uh, another pair of characters that I think just really missed the mark are the few characters from the club that Yuki joined. Like, they were all very bad. There was nothing in them, and the guy was even annoying. He was awful. Gil, what do you say about these club members where Yuki
Um,
joins?
I kind of found them to be a little bit too realistic.
Too realistic? I think they were
Yes.
hyper realistic.
Yeah. Like the guy was definitely like your like typical popular guy in high school.
Yeah,
Um,
but he was a dick.
and then the problems that they had with the family, the sister, and all that. That's like just an extra layer of just a little bit of spice.
Yeah,
That's it. That's pretty much all I have to say for that. But I mean, they were a good segue for Yuki to be a better person. Other than that, it's not too much.
not very much, no. So I think that concludes Fruits Basket. I don't want to talk like even more about it, and I want to go to the next
I mean,
one. Yeah,
for me, I just want to add one last thing to it. For
sure,
me,
sure.
I I didn't think about it too much, but I guess that's what helped me enjoy it, I guess. I just watched it weekly. It was good. I
I also
enjoyed it.
watch weekly. I also watch
But
weekly.
yeah, I just watched it weekly. I didn't like look too much into it, and I enjoyed it.
I had trouble finishing the episodes, especially like somewhere in the middle. Like it was rough finishing the episodes. That never happened in season one. Very weird, very weird. So the next series, we are now leaving the leftovers and come over to the like it's a couple series actually who were supposed to come out prior to summer season, but got postponed because of a certain thing that made 2020 not so good. I think you know what I mean.
Corona.
Please
Yes.
don't mention it. Um,
Yeah.
and because of that, a few series got pushed back, and one of them is the 5th season of Food Wars. Have any of you seen
Sure.
Food Wars? The last
It
season?
I
already has
did.
You
5 seasons.
did?
I did, yes.
Uh, I guess we can talk about Food Wars now. Uh, yeah. You know what I like about Food Wars season 5?
What?
I like Rantabi, the blonde girl who got introduced in this season. You know who I
Oh,
mean?
okay. Yes. Hmm.
I think she was pretty cool, and if she was like in season 1 or season 2, I think they could have made her a really cool character. And that's it. There was nothing
Yeah.
else in Food Wars season 5.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with
That's putting
season
it
5
mildly.
because one of the things that's been good about Food Wars the whole way through is building up the battle dynamic between the characters when they have these cook-offs, but then also building up the process of cooking. So the thought and time and effort that goes into the whole process for it. With season 4 somewhat, and then especially with season 5 here, it felt like that process was sacrificed for the sake of the drama that was going on in the characters' lives. So because some of the main protagonists were dealing with a lot of family issues and other things going on, it sacrificed the process of cooking and all the time and effort that goes into making these dishes. And so it felt very rushed and like there wasn't a lot of stake when people came to try the different dishes. That is like, well, they're either going to win or lose, but there wasn't that same emotional investment that you had in the previous series.
Yeah. I mean, in season 4 already, I don't know if if you've realized it. I didn't, and I was just told this afterwards. Uh, there was a lot of cutting in terms of animation, and there was barely any animation and movement in season 4. Did you realize that? I didn't.
Yeah, that I didn't realize it at the time, but now that you say it, it makes absolute sense.
Also,
that again, that loses some of that dynamic feeling.
yeah, and like most of the characters were in the cage. I was like, what? Like they just stood there in the cage and just watched.
Yeah.
And that was it. But still, in
Well,
season 4, you still had the cooking process, and you still couldn't figure out like what the people made, so you can make it your own, right? You can still create those
Exactly.
dishes IRL. Season 5, nah. You can maybe
Yeah,
like make
it
5
wasn't-
dishes.
And it was like, because there was such a rush to move through the competition feeling, it didn't have time to build on each dish individually and give you that emphasis.
I even think in the manga that that's the same. There is no explanation.
Well, that was one of the things that I knew going into it. Was a lot of people said that this arc of the manga wasn't as great as it could be
That's
as
an
well, and
understatement.
that they were very disappointed with it. So I wasn't surprised by that, but it was still very frustrating when you have seasons 1 and 2 where there is such an emphasis on the relationship between the characters and then how that influences their process of cooking. And then in this season 5, so many of the characters are sidelined, and there's the emphasis is taken away from the cooking to the overall arc. It just takes away sort of the heart and depth that the show had.
Yeah. For example, in the I think it was the first like challenge, where Yukihira had to make that Last Supper dish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
when he finished it, right, and he went onto the through the gate, and then you had Megumi, and who was the other one? Was it Aldini?
Aldini.
Yeah, and Aldini.
Takumi Aldini.
Yeah, Aldini and Megumi, they came also, and like, oh, Yukihira looks at them, and I think Aldini had children, and he had to prepare a meal for children, and Megumi had to prepare a meal for pets. And we didn't see anything.
And those would have been really funny and really
Those were
entertaining
so
to
good.
see. Like, how do you cook in a different way for the different palates of like children? They tend to be much more picky eaters and not to like a certain number of savorings and spices. But
yeah, and you can't be too like too
you can't see
chewy
any
or
of that.
too like hard, right? They can't eat hard food. Maybe there are some that don't even have teeth.
So it would have been really interesting to see the process on that, but because this season was very goal focused on getting us to a certain place. And I think some of it is a timing issue, the fact that it was only 13 episodes instead of like a 2-course season where it would have been 26, because there was so much that they had to fit into there. It just took away from the details that could have made it really good.
No, actually, that was all they had. Like, the material that we saw was all that was in the manga.
All from the manga?
There's nothing else.
That's frustrating.
And as far as I heard, Food Wars isn't the only one that where something like that happened. There are other anime and manga where the similar thing happened, where the author feels like I finished. Like, this is the end. And for Food Wars...
But Jump wants them to keep writing.
Exactly. For Food Wars, that was with the father of Nakiri, right? I forgot his name right now.
Not Aizen.
not Aizen, but Aizen.
Yes.
So yeah, after that, so pretty much after season 4, that was like supposed to be the end. Like, that was where the author wanted to say, okay, this is a good end. here's where I wanna close it. And Jump said, nah, we want more. And that's what you get when you ask for more. You get
Yeah.
a half-assed stuff that's rushed because the author probably didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and he just wrote something. For example, the whole backstory about the antagonist of the season is just in this season. Like, if you didn't watch this season and you didn't watch the last seconds of season 4, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, both of the antagonists for this season were sort of it does make sense that Azami Nakuri, that's his name, was supposed to be sort of the final arc, final villain, because there was the sense that it was building up to that. And then because the groundwork wasn't laid for the two antagonists of the 5th season, there wasn't that same sort of connection, and it does seem like they sort of come out of nowhere.
Who was the second villain?
The bookmaster.
What?
Antagonist, not villain.
Antagonist? The bookmaster's
not villain, but
antagonist.
She's sort of the person who stands in the way of what the protagonists want.
I think those were only the ones from that organization, right?
Yes. But there was the... Oh, let me see if I can find her name. Her title was like the bookmaster or something like that, who is sort of the one that they were all cooking for in the whole arc.
The mother.
Yes. I was trying to avoid spoilers, and I would have said that, but...
No one wants to watch season 5 anyway.
Fair enough.
I don't think anyone would really care. I mean, the thing is, they don't even do anything with it. So you might as well know, because it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
And the actual, like, twists and turns, I didn't say them. And yeah, it's very unfortunate what happened to Food Wars. Like, such a good series ends so badly. Like, just as a comparison, right? I rated...
Thing is...
Huh?
That's the thing with this, though, is as much as I criticize it, the whole series is still much more enjoyable than a lot of things that I've watched. Even season 5, like, compared to season 1 and 2, it's not great. But that doesn't mean it's unwatchable or that it's not fun to see these characters. Season 5 did have a couple of really great moments that I enjoyed.
True. Yeah.
Still worth watching.
I mean, I still gave it a 4.9 or something. Yeah, 4.9. And that's the thing that I wanted to mention. Like, season 1 and 2, I gave a 9.3. And that went through up to season 4, which I gave an 8.9. And from season 4 to season 5, there's a drop of 4 points. 4. That's bad. Like, that's really bad. Something like that should not happen. But it did. And I'm not the only one who would give like similar scores like that. Like the scores with such a big difference. There are many people like that who are not happy with Food Wars and with how the show was handled at the end. Yeah.
I'd say we can all blame Jump for that if this was something that was not supposed to be, wasn't originally intended, and it was just sort of to keep the something popular going. It's not necessarily the show's fault in that case.
No.
It's It's just trying to commercialism, pushing something that didn't need to be pushed beyond what was good before.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's also the argument that the committee of Food Wars is also at fault because the animation department could have like rewritten it, like they could have made it better. You have seen that with, for example, Blue Exorcist. They had only like the first half of it was from the manga, and I think there wasn't enough material, and so they went off on their own and made an anime original ending. So if they can do that, then the people who did Food Wars Season 5 could technically also make an anime original ending, but they didn't. And that's probably because the committee of Food Wars didn't want to do that. There were probably like talks about changing up the story, and people were actually thinking if the anime will have an anime original ending, like a different one. I think you know what those people are especially referring to. What kind of twist?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't, and that's the legacy of Food Wars.
Can I add something to that Food Wars thing?
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't enjoy it from season 1.
From season 1.
Yes.
Ooh, why?
Well, the premise was pretty like I just knew everything. Like they set up everything for the main character. The dad was like the legendary cook, and his son worked for him, and obviously everyone's gonna be shocked by him. And I saw it all coming. And then the I guess the fan service was a bit extreme, and I was like, you know, like I've seen this kind of formula before.
I mean, that's fair.
That's very fair.
Some of it is predictable, yeah.
But I'd say a lot of things are predictable. It depends on the execution of it. So if
Yeah, they really didn't give too much about why this character is this and why this character that. I mean, I liked the princess and all that, the tsundere princess or whatever. If anything, I chose the main character with her. That's it. That's all I want.
Actually, I'm a big fan of Hisako. So the secretary of Erina.
Nice.
Yeah, I like her the most, actually, even more than Erina, which surprised even me. But no, they didn't give her any screen time at all. It's so sad.
Yeah,
so sad.
I just didn't enjoy it because it felt like the emphasis was way too much on the main character with so many other characters.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. I mean, you don't have to like enjoy everything. There are of course a few series that you wouldn't enjoy, right? There are always people who don't enjoy, like, I don't know, like One Piece or Hero Academia, right? Like such big shows. There are always people who wouldn't enjoy them for whatever reason, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm not judging you just because you don't like Food Wars.
Preference is a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was.
I mean, I'm always gonna say the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm usually gonna say the opposite when it comes up, just so it keeps the conversation interesting.
Thank you for that. So that was Food Wars Season 5, and after that we have a few original ones, so no more sequels, and the first original one that was postponed and came back is Appare Ranman. Gil, have you seen Appare Ranman? Gil?
Appare Ranman?
Yes.
That's the
car racing one.
Yeah, car racing.
car racing?
Yeah, it's if I were to describe it, it would be like it's in Renaissance, right? Like the type of age.
No.
Oh, okay.
Which
There, I
which
remember
one
it. I
which
remember it. Now I
which
remember
type of like era is that? Do
I would
It was-
say it's early. It's late 19th, early 20th century, so Victorian era.
okay, so
But it has a very strong steampunk vibe.
okay, so it's
Yeah,
Victorian Hot
steampunk.
Wheels. I think that very much describes it. Victorian Hot Wheels.
Yes.
So,
So,
yeah. You haven't
Can
seen
I
it?
talk about this one? Or...
You go ahead, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, because I was surprised how much I enjoyed this show. It was one that I picked up and wasn't expecting a whole lot out of. I'm not a car person, don't have sort of any interest in that. But the characters were really interesting. You don't get to see inside their head as much as what you do in a lot of shows, but they do a lot to sort of show instead of telling what the characters are thinking and feeling and how they developed. And every single character in the cast has a individual arc that they go through that really does a lot to develop them. And so the whole cast sort of has a very colorful feeling where there's a lot of diversity, a lot of interesting things going on with them, and they play very well off of each other. So this ended up being one of the ones that I looked forward to week, just sort of seeing what happened next, even though I wasn't initially invested in the premise.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good the description. It's very unassuming. I think, like, even though it's very colorful, which I really liked, it doesn't really look like, oh, this one is gonna be a really good one, right? It looks more like a, oh, this is fine. This is fine.
Oh yeah, it's another fine seasonal that's gonna do a thing, but it was surprisingly good for all that.
Yeah. I am a fan of Charlene. Charlene. I probably butchered that name. But I think you know who I mean.
Yep.
I liked her
Yes.
a lot. And I like me some strong women who can fight. I always liked that. And all the other characters were pretty decent. There was actually a lot more violence than I expected, even more towards the end. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was more than I expected. And maybe I guess maybe I wished there was a bit more car racing. But I guess beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah. The car racing did sort of get pushed to the secondary position compared to the ongoing story of everything else. I will say I'd also agree with that. I wish that they'd focused more on the race. My main complaint with the show was sort of that in the second half, the introduction of the villain did seem a bit forced, and it did cause a really jarring shift in sort of the direction of the story and the tone, where instead of focusing on the cars and the race, it became much more of an action-based production. But that being said, the action scenes were surprisingly well choreographed and really fun to watch. So I don't complain about it too much. But the villain was a bit, he just didn't quite fit as well with the rest of the aesthetic of what the show was going for, and so it made that second half feel a bit more jarring than it could have.
So, especially regarding the fight scenes, I think the ones with Kosame, that's the samurai, the one in like bluish colors on the screen right now, and his fights were pretty good. I think those are the ones I would look at, which are very well choreographed. Maybe Shaolin, but more so Kosame.
Shaolin has some very good choreography just from a hand-to-hand sort of fight perspective. But yes, Kosame really does steal the spotlight when it comes to the fight choreography. Which makes sense. Yeah. It's a Japanese production. He's the Japanese samurai trope. He has to look coolest.
He does. One thing that I did not like, I will not spoil it, but one thing that where Kosame was involved, I wish they would have gone through with it, which would have been very surprising, but they didn't, and that was a disappointment. I think you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I think it was interesting to see the development either way, and I think that going through with it would have been a choice to make if they knew they were being picked up for a second season, because it would have had a massive impact on a number of other characters, in particular Appare, and it would have left him broken in a place that wouldn't be fixable in the, I think, 3 episodes they had left.
Yeah, I guess that's very much understandable. Another thing that I wanted to point out was about the villain, Richard, who, by the way, you could see from a mile away who he was.
It was so
there
cartoony.
Was so
much foreshadowing at the beginning.
It was so cartoony.
Where they're just like, oh, hello.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, you don't seem like a bad guy at all. But the thing that I wanted
there are actually people who are not crazy in this race.
What?
No.
You don't say. No, the thing that bugged me the most was, I guess this kinda comes off as a spoiler, maybe not, but let's just say his abilities are
out of skill with everyone else.
Not really out of skill. They seem a little bit more supernatural.
Yeah, it's like he's a Naruto villain who got dropped into this show accidentally, and it didn't fit.
Oh, I especially know what you mean with Naruto, and yes, I agree. Why did he have that? I don't understand. It didn't even do anything. It just looked cool. Right?
Well, I think that was the main thing, is like a lot of the characters are about the visual aesthetic. And so with him, they needed something that gave him a very distinctive visual aesthetic that you didn't have with the rest of the characters. And so that's why they did it. But I mean, it's not just his appearances, though. His fighting ability and his sort of instincts, and even the way that he addresses and talks to people. He's much more like the rest of the characters are very focused on character, on going forward and growing and as individuals through their interactions with each other. And that's why their interactions are so memorable and really sort of speak to the viewer. But with him, because he can't be connected to everyone else, he comes across as a much more philosophical character as opposed to an emotional character, which feels out of place with everyone else and does make him feel like he's much more of a villain from a different type of show where you have these battles of contrasting ideology as opposed to something that's more about each person discovering themselves through this journey.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that makes total sense. I can totally see that. Um, yeah, that was pretty
Like,
much everything.
analyzing everything, that's my thing.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, they could have just given him like a robot leg or something like that, like a mechanical leg. But yeah, I thought maybe something along the lines of his speed was unnatural, but no, he was just fast.
He's just fast.
He's fast as fuck. Yeah, I guess that's already it about Appare. Not much you can say about it. It's just a small little anime that you can watch, that you can enjoy, and maybe talk about it again. Maybe in an episode like top 10 car anime. Not that there are that many, but
I know. I have. So far, I've only been the opposite on everything you guys said, but I'm not doing this on purpose. I swear.
wait, have you
Just
even seen Appare?
I've watched it, yes,
What?
but for like up until like
You didn't
episode
join?
3, no, I did not. I did not. I don't like steampunk and
Well,
all that.
well, that's of
And
course
and
a
the, and the
problem.
character didn't seem all that interesting.
I mean, yeah, they can maybe seem a bit wooden. There's not insane depth to them.
I think it was after Doctor Stone that I've seen that character, and then I was like, well, this is just a watered down version of Senku.
I mean, that's a pretty good. Yeah, yeah. I nothing to disagree with there.
Yes, I think it's very much the similar sort of trope. I think their arcs for development are very different, but if you were watching through the first 3 or so episodes, it's very difficult to see him as anything more or less than a knockoff Senku.
Yeah, yeah. The next series, personally for me, is much better than Appare Ranman, and that is Balance Unlimited. Have any of you two seen it?
I need to watch it.
So you haven't.
Seen it either.
You haven't seen it either. Ah, you just
No.
missed out the best anime of its season. Like like the best new one, not sequels. I think it came out the same time as ReZero, I think. I just have to look. No, same time as Kaguya-sama. Okay, yeah, that's why it lost. And in the next season, like I don't have right now. Yeah, it was the best non-sequel anime this season. Like the best one by far was ReZero, but this one was the best non-sequel one. And yeah, it's how would I describe Balance Unlimited? It's basically a rich dude who just beats people with money. That's basically it. He just beats them with tons and tons of money. And it's very entertaining and also very pretty to look at. And the OP and ED are straight fire. They are so good. Highly recommended. It's by far the best one that I even have here with me right today, apart from ReZero, which of course we will talk about later. Yeah, just highly recommend. I'm not gonna spoil anything about it. Just watch it. It's a rich dude. It's about police. It's a thriller. It's a crime story. It's great.
All right, adding it to my list now.
The next one is the opposite spectrum of Balance Unlimited, and that is Olympia Kyklos. It's it might be the peak of anime. I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion. It is recently the best hidden gem I've seen, and I'm not even sugarcoating it or something. The whole series is done in stop motion claymation. Just insane. If you think like making an anime it takes long, nah, claymation takes long.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that would be a lot of effort to put into it. It looks like I'm looking at it now on Analyst. Is there a number of episodes, but they're a lot shorter, which makes sense if if everything has to be claymated.
Yeah, it's very funny. It is also pretty interesting themes, which I totally didn't expect from that show. I just went into it completely blind, and I thought, oh, maybe this is an obscure show. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. And then I loved it and gave it an 8. An 8. I was so surprised. I can highly recommend it to anyone who is into obscure humor and obscure anime. It's I just can't praise it enough. It's really
I've seen
fascinating.
it circulating around, but I haven't seen too many people talk about it, you know?
Yeah. It's I just can't recommend it enough. Yeah, that is Kyklos, and the next one is actually not a new one. It's the new Digimon series. None of you two have seen Digimon, right? The new one.
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes on a recommendation from a friend, but I
Okay.
haven't gotten into the series.
So you have seen the whole fight with Algomon?
Yes,
Okay.
the,
That
the
was pretty
first
good.
one.
Yeah. Gil, you haven't seen the new Digimon, right?
No, I have not.
Okay. So this will be straightforward. Go watch Digimon 2020. It's great. It's not as good as the original, but it still has some high moments. Even an episode where I almost cried. So take
Damn.
that for whatever you will. I even like technically it is said that this Digimon series is a reboot. However, I am now gonna proclaim that this series is not in fact a reboot but a sequel to the original Digimon series. Well, not original Digimon series, probably all of Digimon. Because I'm gonna say it right now. This series, something happened to the Digiworld and everything rebooted itself. And the people still have like shreds of memories inside their like genes or data, because there are some instances where the connection about partner and Digimon are too close. It's too fast and too close to make any sense. And that's why I think that uh, something happened in the past and
So
everything
it's
got
a
rebooted.
literal reboot, not
Yes,
a reboot of the show, but it's a reboot of
the
the
world.
Digimon world.
Yeah, and not only the Digimon, also the humans. Because all the characters from the original are still the same age. They just
Okay.
look different because the art style is different. We have had a Digimon Tri series, which was a movie series where all the characters from the original series were grown up. And I have a slight feeling that everything got rebooted somehow. I don't know why, I don't know how, but there are hints that it would seem that way. It's the series is very similar to the original series, but also very different. And I'm just gonna leave it out there. This one is a reboot of the Digimon world. Um, there are a few signs that you could point out that don't make that much sense if you just call it a reboot of Digimon, the first anime season. And yeah, it's one of the points is just it's the connection between the like Tai and Agumon is too close, and it's
Mm-hmm.
um in the original it was a long time where they had to build, and in this one it seemed very fast, as if they already had some sort of connection pre meeting them. So yeah, that was Digimon. Now we get into the actual series that aired this season, not the ones that were uh, like uh, because of the the thing that happened this year that they got postponed.
Yeah.
These ones are the new ones, like new. And we started with a couple of series that I dropped because they were that bad personally to me. And the first one is Mr. Love, Queen's Choice. Um, I don't think any of you two would have seen the show if not for
So,
me. And
yeah,
who
I
wants to
did
go
actually end
first?
up watching the whole thing.
What's the
So
whole?
I will.
All of it?
I did. Yes.
What? Okay then, enlighten
Yeah.
us.
No, like, to be fair, I'm probably closer to the target demographic for this show.
Oh, definitely.
I found the initial concept interesting enough to get me past the very, very bland and boring characters. And along the way, it does some things that I wasn't expecting, which made it it's not a good show. It's not a great show, but it was a fun way to waste a Saturday afternoon.
Gil, you've seen the first 2 episodes, I believe, of the show.
Yeah.
What
Actually,
is
the
your
first three, the
opinion?
first three. I always give the first 3 episode rule.
Yeah,
Um, I would say the premise was pretty interesting. It was I like me good superpowers with modern thing. The girls looked good, but then the whole focus was all pretty boys, and I wasn't the right demographic for it, so I was like, well, not gonna enjoy it.
I mean, even if you are not the exact demographic, sometimes a series can still get you to like it. I feel like.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Um,
it would, but it did kind of like fall flat a little bit on episode 2. I mean, I like the whole concept where the character has to work hard for what she really wants, and I like how they're not like high school students. They're all mature, like they're all working adults, right?
yeah.
And I think and I really like that. But it just didn't like appeal to me.
Well, I think another thing with that is it was based on a dating simulation game. So a lot of the characters are very empty because when you're basing a show off of the game, in the game, you're supposed to fill the characters with your own emotion because you're the one playing, you're the one making the decisions. Because you don't have that with anime because you're following someone else, someone who's on the other side of the screen. You have to do something to fill that gap, and it's really difficult to sort of fill that gap between the character as a different character or the character as you.
I guess I don't know. It just didn't really. I think honestly, if they switched all the guys with girls, I would have watched it. I would have watched it.
Which is probably why I did enjoy watching it, was because I could actually identify with being vaguely, mildly attracted to all the pretty boys.
Nice.
Pretty
Yeah, we don't
boys, let's
get
go!
we don't get much animes like that.
No, we don't. I
Well-
think the only one that I've seen is about like Kiss Him, Not Me.
All right, where she loses weight or whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then she
yeah.
I've seen only the first episode for that. That's it.
I think you would
There's
enjoy
a
it.
few reverse harems out there, but
Yeah.
not
not
as
that
many as there are for the regular harem anime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess there are, I think there are more dudes who would like go watch that. I mean, there are fujoshis, but maybe not as much as I thought. Or maybe they're just all on the yaoi stuff and not the non-yaoi stuff. But then again, there's
That's
free.
fair.
Sorry, what again?
I was gonna say that's also fair that there's a lot with the yaoi, and it just has to do with the guys watching it struggling to identify with a female protagonist as opposed to the male protagonist,
Yeah.
which is fair. A lot
Well,
to do with sort of the portrayal.
I think it's the same argument as why guys play as girls in games and why girls play as guys in games, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you wanna be looking at the other ones, at the other one who's more appealing to you, rather than staring at like the one that you don't find attractive, you know?
I think I just got called out. And I don't like that. Yeah, I dropped the show after the first episode. I thought it was boring. The characters didn't interest me. I think if they were all girls,
Characters are very flat.
I think if that were all girls, I think I would actually enjoy it more.
I mean, I feel like they definitely went for that kind of like low key, very mysterious, like hot guy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but it just felt flat.
I
So
mean, I like the CEO guy. He was very like suit up, very serious. I liked his character type. He was cool.
yeah.
That's it. That's all I have to say.
The next one is Docu-Hero HxEROS. And
Let's go, dude.
I watched the
10
first
out of 10.
episode and dropped it because it was
10 out
so
of 10.
cliche and so
Amazing.
awful. Thank you. That I thought this is not worth my time.
Okay.
Gil, before I know you have seen the whole thing, which why? But before
Amazing.
that, I think you would want to give Mab the first Like, real.
Now, why is
Okay.
it amazing?
So I watched, I think, 2 episodes of it, and it did what it was trying to do, which which was fights and fan service. And I think being introduced to the rest of the main cast in the second episode sort of made me a little bit more interested in the idea of continuing it, because they seemed pretty quirky and fun and interesting. However, the main character is pretty basic, and the overall concept is trying to do something, but just couldn't quite do it for me.
I mean, alien insects? Seriously? It would have been even
Yeah,
worse if
that's
they were
why-
alien
I
octopus,
wish they were
octopi or
moved.
something.
I was gonna say, at least they're not tentacle monsters.
Yeah, at least they're not tentacle monsters. But
Um,
insects are almost as bad.
Well, in later episodes, but
What?
we won't talk about that.
Oh my god. There are actually tentacle monsters in it?
Well, you'd expect at the very
Oh
least.
my
I think it was in the last episode.
god.
I think for the finale.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay, Gil. Enlighten us with your mighty knowledge of why this anime is not trash and actually a masterpiece.
Okay. I remember seeing the first screenshot of it, right? I remember seeing the art style, and I looked at it. I was like, holy, like it looks really nice. I was like, the characters look really good, right? The animation wasn't the greatest, but when they get the good shots of the characters really did look amazing.
Was
That's
that
it.
it?
That's it.
Wow, that's not.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, there was a little bit of romance between the main character and his female friend. The other characters were quirky, yes. It was funny. It was fan service. It did exactly what it was trying to do, as Mab said. Uh, yeah, it was just fan service. That's it. Not
That's
too
yeah.
not too much to think about, you know?
Uh,
Just eye candy.
there's other eye
Turn
candy
off,
that I would
turn,
rather
turn
choose.
the episode on, turn your brain off, you're good.
I'm not sure. I mean, I have seen a screenshot that you showed a couple of days ago of the main heroine's face. And that was a very derpy.
Oh yeah. Sometimes the animation would very like fall flat. I remember there was one episode where they had a huge fight. They had like a super beautiful animation for it, and because of that, they had to postpone one episode. And I was okay with that. The animation fell flat like completely even after the whole extra week delay. I don't know. I still enjoyed it. It was an interesting story between the well, no, sorry, not even an interesting story. Just wanted to see the main character and the main
Not
heroine.
even
Just get
interesting.
it. I enjoyed it. You turn off your brain, you turn it on. It's a good watch.
Sometimes you just need that. The just, it's not great, but it's there, and it's an enjoyable time. Like I said, a way to waste a Saturday or something,
Yeah,
or a few Saturdays.
A few
exactly.
Saturdays.
It's like we've all played a cookie clicker, right? You just click on it.
I
You
haven't.
turn off your brain, you play it.
I haven't played Cookie Clicker.
Well, something similar, something that keeps you busy for the moment, and you just enjoy it.
Twitter.
I guess.
That works.
Yeah, so that's HxEROS. If you're into fan service, if you want to turn off your brain and you don't have anything better to watch, first off, why don't you have anything better to watch? Watch something that doesn't require you to turn off your brain. But if you really want to, I guess you can watch it. Maybe. I don't know.
Sometimes you do just need to turn off your brain. You need that rest.
Maybe. Maybe the next one will actually require you to not only turn off your brain, but also every other function of your body. And that is Peter Grill, or as we all say, the Grill.
Thank you. Thank you for recommending me that one.
Or another title, the person who has enough power to lift off a table with just his peen and with the ability to rotate the earth by just walking.
That's crazy.
The
That is
walking
a lot.
animation is so bad. It looks like he's on a Ferris wheel, like a hamster, and just runs and the whole ground just moves. It was so bad. I just watched the first episode and dropped it immediately. It was terrible, horrible. It was even worse than HxEROS. It was disgusting. Map.
The animation for that one was actually better than HxEROS.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, slightly
What?
better. Yeah,
No, it looks awful. The best things are the still shots. And even that doesn't look good. The girls look like they come from a very cheap hentai.
yeah.
Like, I have seen screenshots of hentai that look better than this. That's sad.
I mean, this one looked okay. It looked nice.
Mab, how do you feel about the show?
So I did give this one, again, 2 episodes to sort of do it.
Very brave.
Yeah, for me, I don't mind the fan service hentai aspect of it. However, the characters are just completely unlikable. Like,
What makes you say that?
I couldn't get behind anyone. The girls are despicable. Peter is making excuses for himself, and there are certain things where I'm like, fan service, that's fine, whatever, but when you have people sort of compromising their principles like that, I can't.
Can we just talk about how great the name Peter is? Like, what made them choose Peter? Like, that's the most normal name ever. They could have used
Not in
like
Japan.
any Japanese name and then choose Peter. Peter
Real.
Well,
Griffin.
I think they wanted to go for that. I think they wanted to go for that, like, because he does have blonde hair, they wanted to give him more of a foreign feel. He's not Japanese. And so they chose a name that was actually unique, because you don't run into Peters in Japan. So he is outside of the norm from a Japanese perspective.
I mean, he does have blonde hair, so blonde hair is it's not common.
Blonde hair means he's not Japanese, so
Yeah.
they gave him a not Japanese name.
Yeah. And then you have someone who has violet hair. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, his last name, Grill. Like, what? That's like giving him the name, like what? Stove. Like Peter Stove. Or Peter Chair.
Peter Oven.
Peter Oven.
Peter Microwave.
Yes, the microwave family. Also, I'm looking at the characters right now. There's a girl whose name is Piglet.
Yeah, Piglet. She's great.
And then there's one who is named Vegan. You can't make this shit up. This is wild.
Piglet is a great character. She's She has her story and
She
her
has a
reason.
story. So Gil, you are so you are a madman. You watched the whole thing.
Yeah,
Why?
it's great.
It's not. Why is it great? Explain.
It's great.
That doesn't explain it.
I think
Okay,
it's the same as
yeah, pretty much. Just the fan service. You turn off your brain, you enjoy it.
Uh,
And I mean, each episode was like 12 minutes either way, so it was like a quick binge. I enjoyed it. It was uh I can't say much for the characters. The only character I really liked was the big sister, the ogre one, the
that's
older.
Lisa.
Yes, which I can probably spoil like what happens in the story for her.
I
You later,
guess
yeah, okay. Well, because you guys are not gonna watch all of it, right?
no.
no.
Okay. So what happens is you find out that she's actually a princess. She's like she comes from royalty, because there's a guy in this whole thing that is looking for her to bring her home to the country, and she's like, I'm not leaving until I get this like strong baby, right? Just so that baby can serve the country, which I think is like an interesting story. Honestly, you can build like a whole plot around it, but it was fan service. It was great.
So is Mimi, is that actually her sister? So is she also a princess or?
I think, well, it was because she's the older one. She is like the next heir.
She's the one
Oh,
with
okay.
royal
Okay.
obligations.
She's the next
In line.
in the system in line. Yes,
Okay.
it was great. The other princess, the one that he's actually like engaged to, very
Lovelia
funny,
Sanctus.
very hilarious, very
Really?
funny how she
I...
keeps saying, "Oh, he's very loyal to me," and then you see Peter start crying.
Why are
Yeah.
you crying, Peter? I'm not crying, you're crying. Oh, okay. I guess.
It was funny. It was funny. That's all. Nothing too crazy. Nothing
Yeah.
serious.
There's obviously a cult following already of The Grill. So many people have actually seen this show, like all of it, which is insane.
Hey,
Why don't you why
yeah.
don't people just watch good shows instead? But no, it has to be The Grill.
Well, the art style was appealing, I gotta say.
Really? I didn't
The art
really
style was
like it.
nice. I liked it. It was nice.
Okay, that's The Grill. And lastly, for the dropped shows is one that I am the most interested in talking about, and that is Lapis Relight. I wanted you two to watch the first 3 episodes, and that's for a very specific reason. Um, First, I'd like us to talk about the premise of the show. So, it's it's an idol show. I guess we can safely call it that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, it has magic in it.
Can
Like,
I just take this away and just like say my thoughts about this?
sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So in this one, it's all just girls going to a magic school. They're all witches, kind of, and I guess they produce kind of like sound to make magic. I found that honestly, that whole concept was interesting with the school, the ranks, and all that. And they had a little bit of something at stake. They had the whole point system that she joined a group that was gonna fail. I don't know how it continues. I'm only on episode 30. I'm probably gonna drop it because it's all being
What?
direct. What?
You're dropping a series? That's new.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna drop it. It's because it's all gonna boil down to them being idols and then they're gonna succeed. Because honestly, if this is what I think would sell the show for a lot of people. If they did the first same concept, but they had like fight scenes, just like they had with that episode where they played like dodgeball or whatever. That was interesting. That was fun to
Um,
watch.
about that, that's the second thing that I wanted to talk about. Map, how did you, before we talk about the third episode, Map, how did you, like, experience Lapis Relight?
Yeah, I sort of similar to what he was saying. It was fine. It wasn't really sort of the type of show that's in my wheelhouse. The whole magical girl genre, the sort of watching the friendship develop between them and all of that is not something that I normally watch a lot of. So I didn't have anything to make comparisons on it, whether it was a good example of that or a poor example of that. I didn't find the storyline particularly compelling. Again, sort of with the exception of the aforementioned dodgeball match, that was sort of the high point of watching for me. But the rest of it, I just didn't have a whole lot of investment in the characters or the story or where it was going. And they did try to create that by creating this sense of danger that they might get kicked out of school because they're the worst group. But that danger was never really doubled down on, and the girls never seem to feel that danger as imminently as you're supposed to make it feel compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't too much emotion behind it. So I was like, well, what if they don't care? Then why should I? Kind of thing.
So, show's bad. But the more important thing is, um, as you two already like hinted at, is the third episode where the girls have a dodgeball match with was it the dodgeball group or club or something like that, sports club, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
think
had.
it's considered one of like the magic classes that they can take is using their magic in this athletics thing, and they get points for it or something.
Okay, so when I watched that, obviously the show was bad. It was uninteresting. I'm not even into idol shows, and so I just had zero interest in it. It looked kinda okay, but also like more like average. So I didn't really feel like watching it. What annoyed me more than how boring it is was that the third episode showed a dodgeball match, and let me ask you, what if the whole show was not about idols, but instead was magic dodgeball? The whole show.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It was if that was about dodgeball, it would have attracted a lot more people and probably would have
Definitely.
been more interesting.
So
Yeah,
that's
no, that
no. Go
that
ahead.
was the best part of the show. The watching sort of the different tactics that go into it. No, that would have been a really interesting show to watch. Like magical sports anime.
And they're only allowed to use like once they use that one magic, that's the only magic they can go with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just imagine the sheer amount of like tactical movements you could do with that. You are only allowed, again, as you said, to do one magic per match, right? And and with all that comes a lot of like strategy, and that's something you don't see that much in sports anime. Even in Haikyuu, it's like strategy is involved, but it's more like a group. And here it's a little bit different. You have more
Yeah,
like out
you
of the
get
box
something more like
thinking, and yeah, it feels
something more like one outs, where it's on the tactics of the game as opposed to just the playthrough.
yeah. The show would have been so much better if it just would have been dodgeball, and j- just simply imagining that the creators, whoever came up with this, had this dodgeball episode, and didn't think, wow, this looks really interesting. People will probably watch that and probably buy a lot of merchandise because you have cute girls playing dodgeball with magic. What? You could make a game out of that. You could make a
I think
gacha game out of that.
the thing with it is that because it is an idol thing, it already does have the fan base and the merchandise. So a lot of these start as the idol groups first, and they have their games and they release their music videos and everything. And then from that, they try to build the story around it. So while I agree that the concept would have been more interesting as a show to have the girls doing magical volleyball, it was something that was basically impossible from the get-go because they already have a fan base that they have to appeal to by including the different music that was already established.
Yeah, I mean, like from the get go, like was the dodgeball episode was not made, right? Like, at very first it was like an idol group, right? Without even
Mm-hmm.
magic, probably, or maybe with magic. I really don't know. Uh, but it had like idols and music, and oh, we make that in show. We give them magic, or if they already had magic, oh, we make all this cool. We put all the characters in it, and we have a dodgeball match. And then the dodgeball match ends up being more interesting than the whole premise of the show. I mean, there's so much idol stuff. You don't need more. Do people even watch other idol shows other than the ones already established? You have Love Life,
So
you have Show by Rock, you have I don't know, you have a lot.
the answer is yes in Japan. So Japan doesn't draw their production from how the Western viewership responds to anime. They do it based on the Japanese market demographics.
True.
And idol shows and idol groups and all of that are very, very popular here. You can walk into any anime merch store and there will be aisles and aisles of merchandise and all the different things relating to the idol groups. Sometimes to an extent that it is more than the other regular season, what we would call normal anime, that you would find a lot more. So it's very, very popular here. People are always playing the games on their phones. So with that demographic in mind, it explains why these kind of shows and things keep getting made.
So even new ones, right? Or
Even new ones, yes.
and people still watch new ones.
Yes.
It's crazy. Absolutely insane. I mean, maybe at this point, maybe they make a spin-off or something like that. I mean, I would definitely watch it. It would definitely attract Westerners, and there's a lot of potential. Like, many seasons could be made. Many, many seasons. And movies. But,
Well, it's
yeah.
the same sort of thing with what people say with the dodgeball episode of Hunter x Hunter. That like I would just watch a show that was just that. Everyone says we need to make a magical dodgeball anime.
Yeah, there isn't really much magical sports. I only know of one, and that one is more science fiction than fantasy. Uh, yeah, there's not enough magic sports, and that's a bit sad. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to comment on Lapis Relight?
A lot of wasted potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Characters were like very interesting.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up. The next show is the second season or second core of No Guns Life. Have any of you seen No Guns Life or even heard about it?
I've heard of it, but have not seen.
Okay.
Heard
Uh,
of it,
Yeah,
but I haven't seen.
haven't seen.
Nope.
Okay. You don't need to watch it. It's bad. The second season or second core is even worse. It had a very cool premise, but it was just it was it was nothing. It was a whole lot of nothing and edge, and that very sad. It could have been a very cool concept, but it just felt so boring, and that's what made me end up. I still finished the second core, but that's very depressing, especially since this show is done by Madhouse, which if you know a few of Madhouse's previous series that they made, that they ended up making this with such a poor reception, it's very sad.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's basically it. Don't watch No Guns Live. Don't waste your time on it. It's not worth your time. Something that might be more worth your time is Monster Doctor. Have any of you seen Monster Doctor?
Really?
Yes.
That's another one that I've heard things about, but I haven't actually seen.
So, Gil, this one would probably be right up your alley. It's Monster
No,
Girls.
it's not. It's not right up my alley.
It is.
It is not.
It has cute girls in it.
It's Monster Girls. Completely different.
Nothing is different about
Not
that.
a Monster Girl fan.
No. I like me my humans.
That's very
I mean, then
unfortunate
again,
to hear.
then again, I like the what's her name? That girl from Peter Grill.
Ogre Sisters?
Yes.
Or yeah.
But they
I
are
mean, I guess
basically
because
humans.
they look more
Yeah,
similar.
they look basically human just with a tail. That's barely
And
Monster Girl.
little horns.
Okay. Monster Doctor. If you or the listeners have heard of Monster Musume, this one is basically that, but less edgy, less good characters, and worse animation, and the main character is a doctor. Yeah. The snake woman.
PhD.
Huh?
At least he has a PhD, unlike the guy from
Monster Musume.
yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the main character is a doctor. Actually, the show has a lot more like doctor stuff than I expected, so I really like that about it. And the horse girls, the centaurs, were the highlight for me. Like there was one short scene of an episode about the two horse girl centaur like squires or something like that, and that was pretty spicy. Other than that, shows meh. Meh is a pretty good word to describe it, but it is better than No Guns Life, and it is more worth your time, especially if you're into Monster Girls.
Damn. That's some high praise.
Not really. It's still barely average.
Monster Girl better than No Guns Life.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Monster Girls. Next we go to another new show that's also yeah, got a very high reputation. That is God of Highschool.
Oh, we're jumping
Ah.
straight into God of High School.
We're jumping straight into God of Highschool.
Okay.
Um, hmm. Should I just begin?
Go
I mean,
for it.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Mappa, fantastic studio, right? I
Sure,
know
yeah.
that it's schedule with all the animation and all that. It was still great. Story was interesting. The fights were like great. Characters were okay. And then by the end of all of it, they just become gods or whatever. And the whole superpower thing is like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
It what it was doing at the start with the martial arts, fighting, everything was just out. It was just got thrown out the window by introducing those superpowers. That's
It's
that.
yeah, it's not a good
So
show. I wouldn't call it good.
what episode did I drop it on? I watched a lot of it. It had 12 episodes, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
I dropped it on episode 11.
Yeah, you
I
didn't miss much.
I remember I watched episode 11. I was like, I'm not sticking through this. I know it's gonna be the last episode, but I was like, I had enough.
I mean, you could have used two
I'm
times
gonna go
speed,
watch.
but
I'm gonna go watch HxEROS.
yikes. Okay. Well, to be
At,
honest,
at least there they have more of a consistency of what they show.
yeah, well, for me personally, both shows are not that far from each other. What I would describe God of High School as is painfully average. I think that's a very good description of it. Uh, Animation was good. The fight scenes actually kind of got repetitive. It was a lot of like swirling around and pretending to be a Beyblade. So
Mhm.
um, I didn't like that, and also that everyone had apparently uh like what's it called? They were all sick because they all had red noses. I guess
Oh yeah,
I guess
that
they
was
all had a cold. Uh, Weird choice. I know it's a yeah, and but
yeah.
you don't have to do the noses. You really don't. It just looks bad. Most anime characters don't even have noses, and everything is fine there. So, uh, they have noses that would rival Pinocchio. So, and also,
I know-
yeah,
No, you go ahead. I'll say it after.
uh, it's. I know you haven't seen the last episode, and this will be somewhat of a spoiler, but
Go for it.
there is like the end uh god or the last spirit that gets introduced and is important. I don't know. I wanna don't know. I don't wanna say who and what and all that, but it's the Monkey King, the most overused character, god,
Son
ever.
Goku.
Yes. No, well, not.
Yeah.
Is it Son Goku? Is that the name of the Monkey King?
Not in Korea. I believe it changes depending on where your pulling the myth from.
So
Holy.
my guess would be like, what's it called? Journey to the East? Something like that, right? Is the
Journey
name?
to the West.
Journey to
Yeah.
the West. So that's the one with the Monkey King, right? With the what's the name of the staff? Maibo or something like that?
Nah.
Something with bull.
Well, I'm looking at the
You
poster. I'm looking at the poster for it, and
something like that.
you can see the headpiece
a Noibo or
for
something like that. Yeah, on the image. The
Mm-hmm.
cover image already spoils the last episode. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Monkey King is probably, if you look at like, it's Chinese? Is it Chinese? I'm
Yeah.
not entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at Chinese like myth and legend and all that, the Monkey King is the most overused one by far. Like, he's in so much shit. You have Dragon Ball, where the main character is basically Son Goku and is called Son Goku and has a staff that grows. Like, it's so plain and boring, and it's just not
I
good.
would say the mythology aspect of it could have been done really well. The problem is that the pacing was so terrible for this show. Like, they tried to do so much so fast. If they had just focused these first 13 episodes on building up the first arc of the tournament, where it is more focused on martial arts, and then gradually incorporating the idea of like these powers, and then the idea that the powers come from like divine beings or whatever. If you had taken your time and done that over a longer period, it could have been really interesting to sort of see the idea of this clash of mythology. But because it was so packed into 13 episodes, that they tried to do all of this while also following 3 protagonists plus a very large supporting cast, it made it very difficult to figure out whether or not to care. Like, there were so many characters. By the end of it, I'm like, characters were coming back, and I'm like, I don't even remember who this is or what their power was or why they're here. Why would I be invested in this? And a lot of it just comes down to the really poor pacing.
Yeah, I mean, in episode, the superpowers got introduced in episode 3. That's terrible.
That should have been like the climax of the series.
Yes.
Was like gradually foreshadowing over the course of it with each of the fights that they have, that there might be something more than natural going on, and then the big reveal is, hey, superpowers at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's very poorly done. Episode 3, seriously? That's like making a show about people living, let's say, in the times of knights and castles, right? And in episode 3, it gets revealed that they are actually in the future, and they are living under a huge dome, and outside of the dome is wasteland because of nuclear nuclear fallout, and outside are also aliens. That's basically the same thing. You introduce something that's very different and very like
Well, the
very-
other option would be
yeah.
you introduce that in the first episode, like something
Yeah.
similar to what you have in Promised Neverland, where you're like, you have this ideal, and then as the climax of the first episode, you introduce the concept. So, like, again, you have the idea of people running around thinking knights in medieval times, and then suddenly you discover aliens and Fallout. That's fine if you do it at the end of your first episode or as like the climax for your season. But doing it at episode 3 after you've already introduced what's supposed to be your main premise takes away from it makes the whole story feel very cluttered.
Yeah. Basically, what's the point of the martial art thing then, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
what I
also,
hated.
why is it called God of High School? They aren't even in high school.
Never
That's
once
such a
attended a
bad
class.
name. It sounds like the creator just wanted a very cool sounding name. So, okay, what's cool? Gods, right? And what is my demographic? High school, people in high school and all that, right? So they would relate to people that are in high school, right? So let's call it God of High School. Yeah,
Well, so
that's
far, the only manhwa adaptations that we've seen are Tower of God,
simp.
God of High School, and
Noblesse is this season.
Noblesse, yeah.
something
And yeah,
spiritual. It has to be no with like a blessing, like God bless,
yeah,
stuff like that.
it's
And
yeah,
can I quickly say something? I just looked at my Twitter,
yeah, sure.
and Good Smile announced a figure, like a little Nandroid of one of the characters from HxEROS.
Wow, wow.
A very lewd little Nandroid.
Okay. Thanks for that very important information.
You're welcome. I just found it
Yeah.
funny.
God of High School, terrible. Actually, God of High School was so bad that I consider uh, rewatching Tower of God, which I dropped, and finishing it. Because
Do
I
it.
dropped Tower of God after the Crown game, which was like episode 5 or something like that. And I watched God of High School complete, and God of High School was worse, like way worse. And so it was so bad that I am gonna rewatch Tower of God on stream live and watch all of it. And immediately probably go into the manhwa and read from start there and just catch up. Because in Tower of God, at least, there's a very, very interesting outside world and system, and the supporting cast is great. And God of High School, everything is terrible. The character is terrible. The supporting cast is terrible. I do not care for anyone. Actually, do you remember the guy with the teeth superpower?
Shark.
Yeah, I
Yes.
actually thought his spirit was Jaws. Like, how awesome would that have been? He just calls the shark from Jaws. That would be sick. But no, it's a megalodon. Boring. Yeah, God of High School, terrible. Don't watch it. I probably don't even read the manhwa.
Wouldn't go that far because for all its issues, and it did have a lot of issues, there were some things that it did do very well. So a number of the fight scenes were very well choreographed. They do sort of do a lot of the spinning later on, which can get frustrating. I think it was the second to the last episode or whatever, where there's a very well done fight that isn't a part of the tournament, where an outer god or whatever gets summoned, and a character that you don't know comes in from nowhere, and there's a whole bunch that's again very well done. There
Oh yeah,
are
yeah,
some
that one.
things
Yeah.
to enjoy. There are some things to enjoy with it, and I think I really liked the concept. I think like the idea of building up your fighting skills to eventually unlock this idea of a channel with divinity through that, and then building all of that up is something that can be done very well. And so I'd be interested in probably checking out the manhwa. Maybe not, but someday. It's not great, but it's also not terrible. There are definitely worse shows that we've talked about here.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But there will also be a lot better shows that we are gonna talk
yes.
about.
Oh yes.
I want to hop on and talk about the better shows.
Yeah, sure. Um, Maybe this one will be better. I already sort of accidentally showed it It's the new season of Fire Force, second season. Have any of you seen the second season of Fire Force, or even the first?
Yes.
Yes?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. Gil, what is your thought on the first season of Fire Force before we go into the second?
It's fire.
That is
It's
correct. Yeah, that is correct.
That's it. It's good.
Okay, and the second season? What about it?
Very flaming hot.
That is also a very interesting take. Yeah, thank you very much for your input.
Okay, let me go more in depth into it. Season 1 was definitely I love the art style. It was nice. Characters looked fantastic. Um, Fight scenes were great. Like when the real fights came down, animation was mwah, magnifique. Was just perfect.
The fight scenes are
There
pretty
were
good.
a few like characters that I wish they did more on, like they worked more on, like Tamaki. She's like the
Yeah,
fire cat girl one.
yeah.
Always ends up in the most unholy position, which is very overdone now. Like there should be a character development, which is what she's getting now and at the end of season 2,
Soon,
which I
soon.
think is a little bit too much time for that. But I hope it gets better for just that. Anything else? Season 1 was fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Slow escalation, pretty nice.
So season 2, not good. That's my hot take, if you want to say it.
I kind of have to agree with you.
Huh?
Season 2, I didn't watch it until like recently. Recently, I just binged all the everything from the first half of season 2, and now I'm just catching up with everything from like the seasonal right now, which is
Okay.
like the second half. The first half was very, very boring.
Yeah, one thing that made me actually dislike this season a lot was the introduction of Inca. So you know Inca, right, Gil?
Yeah,
So Inca is without a doubt the worst character in Fire Force by far, even worse than any of the Infernals. And I think Inca is a grave mistake, one that made me hate this series. Inca is a terrible character. She is awful. She is not written well. She's actually written poorly. She is a stupid psychopath. She's bad. I hate her. She's annoying. Uh, and yeah, she's part of the reason why, for a few episodes, I just almost didn't want to watch it. It was so bad. I didn't care at all for the fights. It was awful. And also, when they went to the continent, why? Why put in all that stupid stuff? It doesn't make any sense. You could have just have left it out, and it would be fine. But no, just I don't know. Lately, it has gone better, especially with less Inca. But it's still like, especially in the recent episodes, I have they throw away so many characters. Like, why? You just throw them away. That's I don't understand.
yeah, I do have to agree with you on that.
Do you have anything to say about Inca before we move on?
Okay, for me, I do like that there's a very different character like Inka. You don't see that often. Like she's a very important character, and if they lose her, it's gonna be very bad for our main cast, right? And she is just crazy. She's just insane. She's a psychopath, and she is going out of her way to do bad, which I think is honestly interesting. It really puts the main characters in a bad position where they just can't forcibly like do anything. It's out of their hands. I kind of like that. How they now have to deal with something like that.
Yeah.
Not your typical, hey, she's important princess. We have to take her in. Oh yes, take me. No, it's she has her own personality. It happens that she's fucking crazy. Sorry for the swearing.
No, it's fine.
It happens she's absolutely crazy, and I think that builds a interesting dynamic.
I still hate her. I still hate her.
Me too, but it's interesting to see how and what's gonna happen.
Honestly, I really don't care. If they release more Fire Force, I probably just watch the fights on Sakuga Boru and just watch the Sakuga and be done with it, and I probably wouldn't really miss anything.
Probably.
So yeah, that's Fire Force. Fire Force, not good.
It's okay.
We have a few more left. Have any of you seen Uzaki?
Yes.
You have seen
No.
it. No, okay. So, Gil, what is your opinion on Uzaki?
Let me see what episode I dropped this on.
Oh, you dropped it.
One. I dropped it on episode 1.
One.
Yeah.
Damn, I watched all of it.
Shit.
But I can see why you would drop it on episode 1. Uzaki-chan is not a very good show.
No.
I think it's even worse than HxEROS. And that's saying a lot. Because at least HxEROS has fighting in it. Uzaki-chan has nothing.
There's more character progression HxEROS.
Yeah.
A lot more character progression. A lot more. There's also things at stake. There's things that happen, right? And Uzaki is just a slice of life.
It's not even a good slice of life.
No.
Yeah, Uzaki bad. Don't watch. Probably don't
Moving
even
on.
read. Also, Uzaki is not even pretty. Like, her head is way too big.
What was it? I think I saw on Twitter or something. Someone lowered her like bust sized by a little bit, and that kind of like people said, "Wow, she looks like very normal, like very generic."
Yeah.
It's just like remove the bust size by a little bit, and then they removed the bust completely, and then for that one, people were like, "It's just the gut. It's just like there's nothing interesting here." That's it. The only reason people would watch it is because of her big anime personalities. That's it.
And that one that we are gonna look up next is, in fact, Misfit of Demon King High School. A Demon Lord.
Let's
sorry.
go.
Hell yeah.
So this one is weird. It reminds me a lot of shows like Demon Lord. I mean, that's that's the short one, right? It's the dude who fingered a girl. I guess
Yeah.
I think that's the most memorable thing. Of course, also a little bit of Overlord, I think. Right? Some aspects. But again, this is a Demon Lord sort of isekai, and it's the thing that made this show good is the fact that it's a comedy. If it weren't a comedy, it would be horrible. it would be bad. It would be a very poor version of, let's say, Demon Lord, which was also comedy. But this being a comedy really saves it. Does any of you two want to start? Because it seems both of you have watched
Or
it.
do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Because I have a little history with this one
Oh,
before it aired. I remember sharing the poster of this. I was like, wow, I really like the art style. Like the characters really look nice. I was like, I'm gonna enjoy this. Everyone was like shitting on me. Everyone was like, yo, dude, this is just another fan service, like no story, HxEROS kind of type of thing. I was like, whatever, dude. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna enjoy it. Everyone made fun of me. Everyone said it's not, no one's gonna watch this, right? And then it aired, and everyone was enjoying this. Everyone loved the story. There was like no fan service. It was great. Every time it aired, I I quoted like what they said every time. It's like no one's gonna watch this. You're the only one who's gonna watch this. It's gonna be fan service. And I said, remember that time? That was fantastic.
well, actually, I think I was also one of those who told you this is stupid. This is gonna be some isekai trash like most other seasons, and yeah, I got proven wrong.
It does give away that vibe a little bit, but it was great. It was really good. The story.
The story could have been maybe a little bit better, but then again, it's an isekai, so I'm gonna cut it some slack.
It's not an isekai technically. It's a fantasy. It's its own thing.
He did get reincarnated, so
yeah, but he was from the same world. The isekai is taken to another world.
Isekai, which means another
other world.
Yeah, I guess if you...
But it does it's sort of like oh gosh, what's it called? Danmachi, where it has that isekai vibe without actually being an isekai. They're like,
maybe this
we're gonna do away with the whole the person came from our world and got stuck in this one. He's from this world, and yeah, it's great.
I guess because they start from the very beginning, and it feels like they just started in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Danmachi, he starts at level 1, and then he introduces the dungeon and all that. Kind of the same here, how he's figuring out what's happening with this new timeline right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think about it, Mab?
So I sort of had a similar vibe going into it, where I've read a number of these sorts of light novels where you get the Demon King as the protagonist, and it's going in a certain direction. And so I came into it with a certain set of expectations. And I was very happy with the fact that the show not only met those expectations, like it does all the things that you expect the genre to do. The main character is overpowered. He gets a harem. He wins every fight. But it does so in a really fun and sort of full-on way. So it's not afraid to revel in its own ridiculousness. Like, Anos is such an entertainingly overpowered character.
Sure.
And because he knows he's so overpowered compared to everyone else, instead of like moping with like, oh, what's the meaning of my life or anything, he's just like, yeah, I'm the best. And he owns it so fully that it ends up giving the whole series this really, I don't know, refreshing. Yeah, it's got this charm to it where it's like, in some ways he's super clueless and follows that, again, harem protagonist sort of thing, where he has no idea how to interact with the women around him. But at the same time, he's also like not hugely flawed, and he owns it, which makes for really great comedy. Also, all the women in it are great.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like the ship at the end with the with his best friend and the uh half breed
Oh wait,
demon.
wait a second. I'm gonna get that
Yeah,
right now.
That was fantastic.
Ray
Where is it?
and oh, what's her name?
I already have it. I already. Oh, never mind. No.
Anos, what's very interesting about him? I did notice
Misa.
Lei
What's
and
that?
Misa, yes.
Yeah, Lei and Misa. I love both of them. That was great. What I noticed about Anos, he's definitely not oblivious. He doesn't say he notices everything, but he gives people a chance.
He gives people a chance, but also he underestimates what like the impact that not responding has. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like he's very sort of straight in his responses, and so it comes across like to everyone around him that he's like playing the field, where he's just like, it'll sort itself out eventually, I'm sure. And then all the girls are like, no, but wait, we're all in love with you, don't do this.
Pretty much, yeah. Because for example, when they sabotaged the whole test thing, where they took the cane, and they were all discussing it, I remember he was like, okay, so no one knows where it is, and no one's answering. He's like, okay. He stands up, he takes it out of the guy's like heart,
Buddy.
places it next to the teacher, and he's like, if you want to do it next, do it better, and then goes
Yeah.
back to his seat.
Yeah.
Chad.
Gosh. Man
Absolute
can
Chad.
flex.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's no wonder that he's the biggest Chad of 2020.
And the parents. Okay, the parents.
Oh
are
god, the parents
fantastic.
are so great.
It was amazing in a funny way, and also in a very lighthearted way when the dad gave him just a sword, and he's like, "This is the most powerful sword for my dad,"
Yeah.
because he's just
Well,
OP. It doesn't matter.
he's OP, so it doesn't matter. But also, like, the parents are so invested and so supportive, and that's not something that you see a whole lot in anime.
No.
Like, you don't see two-parent households, for one thing. You don't see two-parent households with like a really happy and loving relationship. And then two-parent households with a happy and loving relationship where they're actively invested in their child's well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of that combines to make them just really likable people. And then, yeah, they're hilarious in how much they misunderstand.
It's Poke?
Otto's brought home another wife!
Yeah,
And then a
that's
third
funny.
one. And then
And
a
then
boy.
a husband!
Honestly, the whole story with the way it went, it was fantastic. It was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I can
plot was-
totally agree. I was underestimating the show, and I
Yeah.
got proven very wrong.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Animation was very, very like
It was okay.
shit.
It was clean. Like, it wasn't
It-
exceptional, but it was really clean.
Yes, it was clean, it was consistent, but it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
They showed what they needed to show. Not too much, not too less.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty fair statement. I don't think there's anything else to mention, except
great to watch
it's a pretty good show. It's what you would call a good trash, so to speak.
Come on.
I mean, the show is kinda trashy, but it's the good kind of trashy. I mean, the story is not a masterpiece or anything. It's not like, oh, this is like big brain stuff, right? It's very plain, but it's done in a way that it's very
It's effective.
easy to consume, and it's very good in how it displays its tropes. Sort of like how My Hero Academia is also fairly basic, but still does its tropes well enough that it works. Same
It's
with
not
this
doing
one.
anything new.
No.
It's just doing something old very well.
Exactly. And
So
sometimes
it's like
that
One Punch
is
Man, but
enough.
Demon Lord.
Sorry?
It's like
It's
One
like
Punch,
One Punch Man.
but like
Yeah.
Isekai.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah. So there are not many shows left. I'd like to go over with this one, and that one is Deca-Dence. Have any of you two seen Deca-Dence?
I did not.
You did
No.
not. Gil, you also did not see it?
No.
No. Okay. So Deca-Dence is one you can also write down. That's another recommendation for you. No one actually has seen Deca-Dence, it seems like.
Okay. Here's the thing. I've heard a lot about it. I've seen clips of it. I know the animation, everything's amazing. I know like where the plot will go. I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's
It's just
unfortunate.
it doesn't fit within my scope, you know?
I think you will still probably enjoy it. I mean, it doesn't have fan service, but it's still the sort of like actiony stuff that would really catch like the group of teens and stuff that you watch goes around in the same direction. I mean, this is the from the same from the same I think not producer but the director, I think the same director as Mob Psycho 100. So you can see a lot of Mob Psycho in the show, and with the premise and what it does with it, it's a bit predictable at times, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's fresh and new. And sometimes that is something that the anime community really needs. For even more so nowadays when there's so much copy and paste. There are so many isekais and so many sequels and stuff that's just not original enough, right? And sometimes, and then you have stuff like this where it really is new and it's a new idea. But then again, personally, I think that the idea could have been done better and more fleshed out, but it still was an enjoyable watch and something very underrated, and I think that more people would enjoy. But apparently, not many have seen it, unfortunately. Very
Yeah,
unfortunately.
not many. The only people that watched it have praised it to the high heavens, and in that very niche amount, people said the hype was like not as much. Action scenes were fantastic from what I heard,
They're
but they
pretty good,
weren't
yeah.
too much into the story,
The story is alright. Could have been done
right?
better.
I see.
But it's still fun. Yeah.
I'll probably then see if I'll watch it.
I mean, we would probably enjoy it, I think.
I mean, 'cause you
Yeah.
said it's the same director as Mob Psycho,
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is.
might as well.
You can definitely see Mob Psycho in this one. Definitely some shots. It's really obvious. Yeah, it's just no one has seen it. It's very like sort of underground actually, and it's very unfortunate that not many have seen it. And normally it shouldn't even be shadowed by something else. Like Misfit is totally different, and I guess the one that overshadowed this show was God of Highschool, actually. And God of Highschool is much worse than this. Much worse. So yeah, even Uzaki has more like more more a bigger follower, a bigger base than this one, which is sad. Yeah. The other show that got really popular last season, and I know Gil, you really want to talk about that show. I know that, and you will be very sad when I say that this one isn't that good, because you will want to disagree with me, and
No,
that
no, no,
is
no.
Rent-a-Girlfriend.
It's fantastic, dude. It's 10 out of 10.
It's not really fantastic.
It is.
It's basically prostitution, but lightly.
But like, okay, here's the thing. Sorry, I'm just gonna let my cat out. Get out.
Cat's gotta
Um,
meow.
Rent-a-Girlfriend was like, okay, when you first see Mizuhara, you're like, this is a 10 out of 10. This is perfect. Like, you can't disagree that she is best girl.
I can, and I could, and
You
I will.
cannot disagree.
I can.
Like, there's 4 girls in this anime. She's the number 1. You can't disagree with that.
I can, and I will. And I
Did
have
you
very
watch?
good proof.
Did you watch all of it?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I the main character, obviously not great at all. First
His
thing,
name is Kazuya, or you can
Kazu,
call him Kuzuya.
Kuzu.
Yes.
I would say, give me 1 second. Uh, the thing is with Rent-a-Girlfriend, I don't know. It felt like, how do I explain this? It was good. I enjoyed it. The characters were they had their own motivations. They were interesting. Kazuya definitely went through some not easy uh, relationship things,
Yeah,
and he
that's
found a
yeah.
coping mechanism that wasn't like perfect. But Mizuhara is great. She's fantastic.
Mizuhara?
Yeah, Chizuru.
Her name is not Mizuhara.
Is it Chizuru, isn't it?
It's Chizuru Ichinose. Apparently.
Oh wait, no, that's her. That's her like Rent a GF name. Okay. Anyway, Chizuru.
Yeah. Um.
How come you don't like her?
Well, for me, Chizuru is a bit shallow. No, let me explain. She is a good person, right? Like she's nice, right? You would call her a nice person, right?
I guess.
Yeah. That's all there is. She's just nice. And
What
she's
do you
nice
mean?
to everyone. There's
Well,
nothing special about her. She's just nice. She's like she's like an ideal. She's very shallow, and she's more like a shell of a human. And stories like this, especially where it is grounded in reality, like no magic, no fantasy stuff, you want to have the characters feel human, or else you not only get um, pulled out of the immersion, and you also see the faults. And for Chizuru, it is that throughout the episodes, the 12 episodes, everything that she did was being nice to Kazuya and also to his grandma and to Ruka and
Wait,
to his
hold up.
to her.
I'm so confused. You're saying like one thing and then the opposite. She wasn't nice to him. She was like, get away from me.
To who?
Like, because she did her job, right? And then he kept going up to her. And then she obviously was trying to avoid that. She was being very professional.
Yeah, she was polite.
Well, was she supposed to? Well, she was like, obviously she's not gonna kick her client, for future client.
Yeah, of course she wouldn't, because she is in herself. She's a nice person. She is polite. She
Yeah.
she's
Well,
like a poster person, like an ideal. And
She's an ideal, not an actual individual.
exactly, yes. She doesn't feel real. She feels more like a group of personality traits that you would wanna see in a girlfriend or in a partner, and you shove them into a character without actually a personality. What you have is you have a big chest, you have long hair, you have a pretty face, and you have her being polite. I think she even can cook, right? Did she know how to cook?
she did
Yeah,
cook.
yeah. She can cook. She's polite. She's a professional. She is adult. With that, I mean she knows how to present herself. But other than that, there's no personality. And I feel like the one that does have personality is Ruka, because she has flaws. Chizuru doesn't have any flaws. None. She's all around a good person, and a human is not a good person. A human does always have some some trait that is negative.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Chizuru. It's because later on we do find out she's aiming. She's not just aiming to be like the perfect or whatever thing. She's aiming for a higher place. She wants to be an actress,
Yeah, exactly. That's also a
which
trait.
which is realistic. Like they're like people who always aim for the higher places tend to look perfect. It's because she's dead set on working towards her goal, which kind of makes her seem like personality, as if she doesn't have personality, is because she focuses on that one thing. But we do get to see her personality. We do get to see more of her throughout the show.
Hmm.
We do get to see how she is trying to help Kazuya like get a girlfriend.
Because she's polite, yes.
Well, she could also just say no because it's out of
Exactly.
her way.
She could say no. I think
I don't.
people in
She's
reality
perfect.
would say no.
She's perfect, dude. I don't know. I mean,
Exactly, she's
yeah,
perfect. That's all
Ru-
there is. There's no
Ru-
fault
she
in her.
Ruka, she's also like she's fantastic as a character that can uh develop, right?
Yeah,
Because she has flaws.
that's also
Chizuru
one. Shizu
is
doesn't have
already
any flaws, so what is there to develop?
Chizuru is already the perfect character.
Exactly.
No, no
Why would you
flaws.
wanna root for a perfect character? That's boring. Ruka has issues. She has human issues. She's not a perfect person, but she's very loyal, and she is what you really would wanna see in a girlfriend. Not Chizuru. What you
Now
wanna
you,
see is Ruka, someone
now you
who
that,
really loves you. Chizuru
now
wouldn't love you. Ruka does. Ruka
and that
is what you
That's
really
so
would want to look for.
that's why it's so realistic. You'll always go for the perfect one, the one that doesn't like you back. That's how it always is.
But again, no one is perfect. They just
True.
seem perfect. But
There you go.
Chizuru, especially, we only have 12 episodes to base all this from, right? So of these 12 episodes, Chizuru is basically just a perfect shell of a human. Like, there is no substance. All you have is perfectness. All you have is perfection. And then you have Ruka, who struggles with her life. She has very big, like, issues with herself. And then Kazuya comes and practically saves her. And that saving is something that should get rewarded, right? Also because this is a story. This is not actually real life. In real life, nothing like that happens. Most of the time, at least. But since this is a story, as a writer, you would want to have Ruka get rewarded by something, because you give her this issue, this life issue that she has dealt with all this time, and then you have Kazuya, who practically saves her and is her knight, her savior, right? Her hero, and you would wanna give her something as a reward, right?
Then what about Chizuru? Chizuru saved Kazuya
From
his long depression after what's her name? Mommy dumped him.
I wouldn't call that saving.
But she did.
I wouldn't call that saving. She just made things worse.
I mean, for him, in his eyes, it was saving. And what about Kazuya? Kazuya is also making things worse for Ruka.
Sorry, what again?
And it's the same thing with Kazuya. Kazuya also made things worse for Ruka, didn't he?
Exactly, because Kazuya is actually a very human character. Painfully so. He's so human that it's hard to watch him, because I personally can see myself in him. No, this is actually very real. Like, if you look for people who are weebs or neets and are virgins, and then they suddenly get a girlfriend, someone who even looks so good like Mami, and then they get dumped, that is devastating. I can personally understand from where he's coming from. Kazuya has two friends, but they are not really, like, pretty or good looking. He himself is also very average, right? And for someone like him to get dumped that's trauma. That's traumatic. And what you see him is he has a broken personality. He is broken inside. All he does is he doesn't know how to do what is best. No, it's he doesn't know what to do in certain situations, because he was never in those situations. He never had dealt with a girl before, especially not in such big ways. And all these moments where he acts like a fool or like an idiot is because he didn't know better. Of course, he misinterprets everything, because this is his first time even learning about these things. So all these human things make him a very tragic character, because that can happen to anyone who's similar in a similar situation, who's like cut out from the rest of society, who doesn't have many friends, if at all, and is a virgin, and then something like that happens, and those people would get destroyed, and Chizuru would make things even worse because then they cling to that person who gives him just a tiny bit of like of respect and all that, because they don't have that. Kazuya also has little to no respect from his parents or any other like older figure, right? And even his grandma really wants him to find a girlfriend, and because he is such a broken human with such bad qualities, he always feels like he can't give his grandma what she wants. He can't live up to her ideals, and that really really hurts him mentally. And if a person IRL is like that, a virgin, has no interactions with a girl before, is alone, and then something like that happens, that's awful. And that's why Ruruka is so important, because she really would give Kazuya what he needs, but he clinged to Chizuru, and I'm probably guessing over the course of the manga, he will force Chizuru to naturally fall for him, because that's what would end up happen naturally, because they spend so much time together. They would see the positives in each other, and they would fall for each other, and that's probably what's gonna happen. So yeah, there was a lot of talking.
That was quite the monologue.
That was quite a monologue. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But I do see your point. You got anything to say, Mab?
I didn't see it, so I can't add a lot.
Ah,
Okay.
no.
So here's my point to add to what you were saying. About how Ruka would be better for him because she will give him what he needs, right?
I mean, I guess so,
But
yeah.
I remember that one episode where Kazuya, it was in the later episodes, Kazuya says that he sees himself improving so much more and developing as a person if he were to be with Chizuru. Because if he were to stay with Ruka, they're just gonna be just okay with each other, right? But if he's gonna chase Chizuru, which he can because of the ties they have with the family and the grandmas, when he catches up to her, they can go far in life, you know?
Yeah, I can see that, because Chizuru is on such a high place. The more Kazuya tries to catch up to her, the more he will improve himself
Yes.
in order to catch up to her ideal place, which is so high above. I do get that he will improve more the closer he gets to Chizuru. But then again, you can't just forget about Ruka. I mean, we have seen the episodes where Ruka realizes, right, that she will probably never end up with Kazuya, the person who practically saved her.
But then what she does is she just randomly inserts herself into the family meeting out of nowhere, which when I saw that, I was like, this is psychopathic a little bit.
This is what people would actually do. I'm pretty sure.
Which is wrong. Like,
I mean, people do a lot of wrong things.
but Chizuru there does things better, you know?
I mean, of course she does things better. She's made to be perfect. I mean, after all, this is a manga, right? This is someone wrote this, and since Chizuru and Kazuya are the mains, I'm I'm gonna assume that these two were the first characters that the author wrote, right? So in Chizuru, the author naturally probably writes things that the author seems are important, not only uh, on the outside but also on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that? So of course, it is the author made a practically angel-like person who's just so good of a person. Maybe the goal of the manga and the show is not to end up with Chizuru, but more for Kazuya to become a better person. And I think those moments when Kazuya becomes a better person, right? These moments when he will stand up and will improve on himself, those are the big moments, not some kissing or some blah. No, those moments are important because Kazuya is the main character. It's about him and about him improving as a person. About him fixing himself with Chizuru helping him, which doesn't even need Chizuru on his side at the end. They could just as well part ways. And it would be alright because what Chizuru gave him on this journey was more than he could have ever asked for. Because he, at the end, will be the person that he always wanted to be. Would you say? Would you say that?
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, it does make sense that something like that could happen.
But I mean, Chizuru is great.
Chizuru is a pretty like perfect character.
There we go.
Also, the way that they introduced Sumi is just why.
I rest my case.
About Sumi, the
No.
fourth.
What about Sumi?
Why introduce her at all in this these 12 episodes?
Well, you gotta have a full harem. Can't be with 3 characters, has to be a little bit more.
Like, Mami barely counts.
Yeah, I don't know how she counts.
Yeah, well. That was Rent-a-Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Some very philosophical things were said. Someone may have gone above his boundaries. Yeah, there's only one show we have left, and that's the best show of the summer season 2020, and that's of course ReZero season 2.
Wait. Wait, I agree with you. What are we not gonna talk about SAO?
No.
What? Why not?
I mean, of course, we can. Sure. Let's talk about SAO. Go ahead.
Okay, it was great.
Okay.
Moving on.
I haven't
I'm
seen
not up to
SAO.
date. I didn't see the most recent season either.
Oh.
Although I did read the light novel, so I know the main beats of the plot.
Okay.
I'm not
It
a
was
fan of
so
SAO.
great. No?
I stopped caring after the movie, which destroyed all my.
Okay, to be fair,
hope.
the movie was terrible.
Oh, the movie was so bad. The movie
Which-
actually
the
is my,
Ordinal
I
Scale?
think, 3rd lowest rated movie ever.
Like you guys are
Anime
talking
movie
about
ever.
ordinal scale, right?
Sorry?
You're talking
Yeah.
about ordinal scale?
Yes, ordinal scale.
Yeah, it's
Really? I rewatched that movie like a bunch of times.
It was okay until the last quarter of the movie, where they introduced just a shit ton of fan service for no reason, and that bullshit really just no, Screw this. I hate this. This is awful.
Wait.
This doesn't make sense.
What fan service? I'm confused.
They when they fought the last floor boss.
Dude, that scene was epic.
No, it wasn't. It was stupid.
That was sick. Yeah,
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
perfect.
No, it wasn't.
Come
Because
on.
what doesn't make sense is, one, they got all their gear back from SAO. Why?
Yeah, dude,
It
that
doesn't
was
make
like
sense
comeback.
at all. They just put it in there for fan
Well,
service.
when-
What
when did-
else? They put
when-
in the
here,
ghost
here.
of the girl who died.
Hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. When did SAO ever make sense?
The thing with SAO
Back in the day when
that
SAO
makes-
still was there, it made sense. It was not good, but it made sense.
a lot of that can actually be explained away by the genre tropes. So people approach SAO like it's a fantasy or it's an isekai, and while it does have a lot of those elements, it's actually cyberpunk. And if you know the cyberpunk tropes, it actually is following pretty beat for beat on that in
Wouldn't it?
the newer seasons, in the older seasons. And so some of the things that don't make sense have to do with it drawing on those tropes as opposed to the fantasy or isekai tropes.
I mean, wouldn't SAO be sci-fi, science fiction instead of cyberpunk?
So cyberpunk as a genre is about the immersion into the digital world and the interaction between digital reality and human reality.
That's cyberpunk.
And so
That's cyberpunk.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And SAO, it's a branch of science fiction. And so SAO very much follows through that subgenre with how it deals with a lot of its characters and a lot of the things that happen with it. So things that happen, especially in the later seasons, with the incorporation of the old seed from Aincrad into sort of these new branching off realities, and you see that even in ordinal scale to some extent, is much easier to explain in terms of the talking about the digital and quote unquote real worlds interacting with each other that way, as opposed to looking at it purely as the fantasy or isekai tropes.
Yeah. Movie was still shit.
Yeah, the movie was still shit, but like a lot of the things that
on.
happen
No,
later
it
on
was
that
bad.
people don't like.
That was great, dude. The animation was fantastic.
The animation had some pretty bad stuff in it. Like some stuff
What?
doesn't make sense. Like
No, the animation was
technically it doesn't make sense. A lot of stuff is just stupid and just looks good.
You're just hard to please, man.
No, I'm
It's
not.
good.
No, I'm not. I watched Olympia Kyklos, a show about claymation, and I gave it an 8.
And
8.9
you-
or something like that.
And you said the original skill movie is like,
It's a
the lowest-
3 out of 10.
damn, dude.
It's my 3rd lowest rated anime movie.
Come on.
No, really, it's that bad.
Just-
It's awful.
Just for that last animation, just for
The
that
last quarter, yes.
cannot-
The last quarter destroyed not only the movie, but also my entire interest for all SAO stuff.
It
The
was
only
great.
other stuff that I watched after that was GGO Alternative, which was great. But also, it was great because there was no Kirito and no Asuna. No,
Last season was great.
just because of that, it was great. Because those people were not in it. And those people suck. Because they are not good written.
I mean, yeah, GG Alternative was definitely interesting. It was different. It was fun.
The characters were
It was
better written. Because it was
Yeah.
not by the same guy.
was it not?
No, it wasn't.
Hmm.
GG Alternative is written by someone else, and because it was so popular or something like that, they said, okay, let's have it be like canon and okay, and let's make a light novel series out of it. It is not written by the same guy who made SAO,
Interesting.
which is also why it's better and more technically correct.
Well, we'll see what happens with the newest SAO movie that we're gonna get.
I'm suspecting that it will be also not very good. That's just a hypothesis, but I think
mean,
the author is
feels
not a good
impressive.
writer.
No, he's not.
I disagree with that strongly. I think that the author has a very specific vision that he's looking for, and I think he's executing that vision very well. I don't think it's meant to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think that the characters are not meant to be hugely developed, but they're meant to serve a purpose, and that they do serve that purpose very well.
Well, I guess if they do just serve a purpose, then they do their work.
Yeah, that's like, again, I was going back to what I was saying earlier about like cyberpunk. One of the tropes of the genre is that the characters do tend to be very lacking in emotion because they serve as a contrast with the characters that come to exist from the digital world, who are wanting to be portrayed as whether they're human or not. And so when you have someone like Kirito and Asuna who are nice, but you can't say a whole lot more for them than that, you see sort of, okay, this is our definition of what it is to be human, and then how does that run in contradiction or in comparison to the characters that are artificially generated. So the characters that exist, like Yui in Aincrad, or later on where you get more and more purely digital characters, and so it provides an interesting contrast with that.
Isn't
With the whole
the villain from Alicization digital? I think so.
The villain is not.
Like the
Well,
the
the
woman.
the first villain is. The
Yeah,
second villain is
I mean
not.
I mean the woman who gets incinerated.
Yes, she is digital.
Okay, okay. Like
I mean,
I have heard about her, and I have seen that she got incinerated, which is pretty funny. She gets like hugged by that dude that followed her, and then she blows up. That was pretty funny.
I don't know, the last season was pretty intense. It was cool. I enjoyed it. 10 out of 10.
I did hear that Alicization gets a lot better. Like a lot of
It-
people have told me that.
You didn't watch Alicization at all?
I didn't. I
would
stopped
highly recommend
after
it's checking out.
Gungail
I
and
would highly
Gungail Old.
recommend it. Everything you hated on SAO, it's corrected in Alicization.
I'm really not so sure, and I really do not like Honor Scale was so bad. I really lost all interest, like all of it. There's
Okay,
none.
okay. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. You remember episode 1 to 14 of SAO? You remember how great that was?
I also didn't like that.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, fair. Then SAO may just not be your cup of tea, which is fair.
I mean, back in the day, I did like it. I gave season 1 and 2 a 9. But later I changed the scores to like
Alright.
7 point something. Yeah.
Why?
I realized
Why
how
go back all
bad
the
they
way to
actually
change it?
were. My point of view on the series changed, and with that also how I perceived the show.
Interesting.
You can thank Mother's Basement for that.
Oh, no. All right.
So because of his analysis videos on SAO, I saw how actually bad the show is, like in terms of writing, in terms of visualization, and and because of that, my
And
how I perceive the show has lowered.
here's the thing for me. For me, I generally don't like negativity, right? But that's why I don't like to overanalyze things. I like to just hop on a show and enjoy it. Even if it's bad, I'll still watch it to the very end. I'll give it a chance. If it's like really, really, really bad, I'll drop it on episode 11.
Well, I actually also don't really like to drop shows. And back in the day, I didn't. Back in the day, I didn't. Now I just can't. I don't have the time, right? And
Yeah.
I have to drop the shows. Back in the day, I would have watched them all until the end.
Yeah,
And
nowadays,
sometimes back in the day, it was hard. It was so rough that I had to do something else while like quote unquote watching, so that I could like finish them, because they were either that boring or bad, but I didn't want to drop them because I felt like if I drop them I can't really like rate them, right? Because I haven't seen everything. But now I if I can give a score based on what I saw, then I will, and if I can't, I just don't give a score at all. Because I don't have enough of an information, right? So it would be not fair of me to to rate a show either because I haven't seen all of it, or because the premise isn't just for me.
Yeah.
Right? That's just unfair. So I just don't rate them at all.
True.
So
All right.
yeah,
Hero.
the last one, Re:Zero, season 2, the best show of summer 2020. Surprisingly, I didn't see it becoming this good, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like nothing comes even close. It's wild.
I was absolutely blown away.
Mab, have you actually seen Re:Zero?
I did watch it.
Okay.
Again, it's one of those ones, looking at it, I can appreciate it for being very, very good. It does a lot of things. It does a lot of things very well. I struggle with it because I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed a lot of other shows.
Yeah, that makes sense. There are some things. You're probably referring a lot of to Subaru, right?
Subaru, yeah, as a protagonist, I don't find him likable, which makes it very difficult for me to keep watching. I understand that he's a good character. It just doesn't. I just struggle with that. Also, there was a lot of good things sort of going on, but it didn't feel like overall the story gave me enough to want to keep watching. Like I finished it, I watched it all. There were some interesting questions, some interesting things, but overall it just didn't hit me as strongly as a lot of other shows do.
Yeah, I guess there are some points towards that.
But it's not anything wrong with the show. It's more to do with my particular taste on it. And I will say the one thing that was excellently done was, again, the portrayal of his parents. And that whole those 2 episodes or whatever, that was really the heart of the season, and that was really, really well done.
I also really like the tea party at the end. That one was mwah.
The parent scene was just a straight up, hands down 10 out of 10.
It was pretty good.
Like, again, it's not very common to see 2-parent households where the parents are in a positive and committed relationship with each other and actively involved in their child's life. So that was really refreshing to see and really well executed.
Well, from the current point of view, you can practically call them dead.
Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah, Re:Zero is just really good. I don't really know what I would have to like like say negatively about the show. The second season
Your,
was all
your
around
daily
better, I think,
your
than the
daily
first
dose of
season.
suffering.
Sorry?
Your daily dose of suffering.
Yeah, yeah. Subaru, he goes through a lot. Let's just say that. And he definitely does not like rabbits.
No.
Yeah. I guess what you say, Map, is right about Subaru. Um, I don't think he's meant to be a likable protagonist. I think ReZero is very different, not only in isekais, but in general. The show is less about fantasy and more about a psychological thriller. I feel like less horror right now than back before, but still there are horror elements in it, and you rarely see well done horror in anime. Very rarely. Uh
I mean, there is the fantasy elements to it, along with the suspense and all that.
yeah, but I feel like the
Like,
fantasy in ReZero is made more normal. Like in ReZero, the fantasy feels a lot more normal than in other shows. Of course, that has to do with that in ReZero, in the world, magic is normal. But I feel also that Subaru's way of dealing with all this magic, like in the first episode of season 1, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got isekai, great." The way that he quickly understands the situation, since he comes from a background knowing about isekais, puts him in a perspective that he quickly found himself coping with magic and with all the fantastical stuff, making it look like he was always a part of this. Like he was always a part of that world. Like he has no problems, and we as a viewer also don't really see a problem with magic. Like, oh, this is magic. Like we see it as more normal things. Of course, there are these evil things like the whale, the rabbits, and all that, but those are like IRL, like murderers or something like that, or a natural disaster, like
Yeah,
stuff
the
that we
magic
can
doesn't
see. Yeah,
the magic doesn't feel exceptional because magic isn't the exception in that world.
yeah,
And Subaru adjusts very quickly to that. And so there's not the same sort of wonder that you get in other fantasy shows that revel in the magic. In this one, magic is just like it's a part of the day-to-day life. How does that serve a function?
yeah, exactly. And the way that it portrays Subaru is also very distinct and different from many other shows, in that his role is not that of a protagonist, but that of sort of like a bystander, someone who just does the things, and we as a viewer see his struggles and the mental uh, stuff that he has to deal with. And as a protagonist, he doesn't really make like an impact. It's more about the psychological and philosophical stuff and less about protagonist has to do X things for X things to happen or something like that, right? So it's less about like what does the hero do. Subaru doesn't even feel like a hero, right? He feels more like an antagonist.
A hero moves the plot forward by accomplishing things. Subaru moves the plot forward by unaccomplishing things, by changing things that were already accomplished before.
Yeah, Subaru
So
even
it makes
says
him
himself
feel
that.
not heroic.
Yeah, he even himself says that he doesn't do things on his own because everything he does was based on the ability that he was given, right? And that was all part of the crux of the season 2, that he was confronted with the realization that he has to move on his own, that he has to not rely on this ability to move him, right? So that he becomes the protagonist of the show. And we already in season 1 got the moment where the name of the series becomes program, right? Where he says to no, not because the Ram says to him, your life has to start from 0, and from that point on, Subaru starts becoming a more active character, not a protagonist yet, but a character. And in season 2, you see him like lose all his like standing, all his safety, and you see him struggle much more than season 1. You see him succumb to all this pain and suffering, and then he gets confronted with basic things that he hasn't learned yet. Again, we talked about this before. People in such a position, they don't have these natural things like love or understanding of simple things. They don't have that. They never had that to begin with. And so Subaru in this world now has to be given this teaching on what these things are. And the first one who really makes him get these things is Patrasche, the dragon. She's the first character to show him what love actually is. And that's very interesting that Patrasche is the first one. Like, not Emilia, not Ram, not Echidna. No, it's the dragon.
Yeah, I think the impact of the first season was sort of the impact of the psychology of a single person going through traumas on their own. So Subaru is in some ways very lonely in the first season, whereas the second season is more about the traumas that relate to other people and being left behind or leaving other people behind, and how the damages that we have done to ourselves can really affect the people around us. And Subaru thinks he's making things better by sacrificing himself all the time and always being the one who is sacrificed, but he doesn't realize how selfish he's being with that, where he's like, by constantly sacrificing himself, he's also hurting the people around him.
Yeah.
And so we get to see sort of the psychological fallout of that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the follow-up season, the second core, and how he will evolve, maybe even into a protagonist role, into a role that we as a viewer can put our trust and our hopes into it, that he will, like, quote unquote, save the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there anything else that any of you two want to mention?
That's great.
It's
If
great.
you want to recommend someone who doesn't watch anime, this would be the one.
I mean, this is a pretty dark one to begin with, but yeah, okay.
Well, that's what people like.
Well, you
look
start
for in
dark.
shows.
Yeah. You know,
Like, it's
you
so
recommend Death
particular
Note, you
for-
recommend Re:Zero, you recommend the dark ones to start with.
Like Berserk.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Berserk
I
is
mean-
one you could easily give
Okay,
people and
I'll
they would
give
or
understand it.
manga.
But also the
Don't
old
recommend
the old
Berserk
show.
Okay, the old one maybe.
Yeah, the 19
I'm
something
talking
something.
about someone who doesn't watch like animes, right?
Yeah.
I think they will still get to understand Berserk, especially if they are
Like-
older
like-
than they
like
have dealt with.
2016 or
Huh?
2016 Berserk.
No, I mean the first Berserk from 79 or something like that.
So you're telling me someone who doesn't watch anime suddenly would watch a 1970s
No, I mean
anime?
if you give them that.
Yeah,
I would say Berserk is one that you recommend for manga more than for anime as a starting place. Like there are some darker anime that you don't recommend as a starting place just because it would be
yeah,
too much.
too
The
much.
corpse party.
Yeah. Like
Definitely.
I wouldn't tell anyone to watch Hellsing Ultimate for their first anime. But I'd
that's
say maybe
that's a
like
wild
Attack
one.
on Titan, Death Note, even ReZero, those ones they're dark enough, they have enough adult themes that they can appeal to someone in that way, but also without like overwhelming you.
I haven't seen it, but probably also Hunter x Hunter and FMA, right? They have dark themes in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Yeah,
haven't
so
seen, but they're
Diaz,
probably also
another good
very
one.
It just won't
usable
be too
for.
appealing.
What wouldn't be appealing?
Some aspects of it for someone who's starting new.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because if you're telling someone, yeah, ReZero, it's about the guy who gets transported to another world, but then there's like this thing. He dies in the first episode. It's like, no, you're lying. And then it happens, and then they come up to you and they're like, wait, you weren't lying. I was like, yes, I know. It's like the meme. It's like, yes.
Yeah, I guess that was the last one. Actually, there's another anime that I did watch, and that I kind of forgot about it. It's the last season of Snafu, but I don't know if any of you have seen it, even.
No.
I've seen season 1 and 2
Yeah, okay.
years ago. Completely forgot about it. I'll have to rewatch it and watch season 3.
Yeah, season 3 is it's wild. Let's say that.
Let's go.
I mean, I wouldn't say let's go to season 3, but okay.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
So yeah, that's already the end. Like already in quotation because we are a little bit over the mark. Yeah. Thank you too for taking your time and coming to this episode and talking
My
about
pleasure.
anime.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, you can like if you watch this on YouTube, you can see you want Gil, don't you want your Twitter shout out or
Smash that
something?
like button, subscribe, hit that notification.
No, I mean your Twitter shout out or something like that.
How do I how do I how do I
So you
link
start with
or
follow me on Twitter,
well not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter?
on
Okay,
Twitch.
okay.
Not on Twitter.
Twitch?
Yes, Twitch.
Twitch, mind sure.
Follow me on Twitch. It's
Twitch.tv
/ /GilOnV, as in just the letter. Very simple. And then for YouTube, do I even have my own thing for YouTube? I guess just look up Gilga Smash and you'll find a profile picture of Deku. That's it. I do funny stuff with Genshin right now. I got
Genshin.
AMVs if you want to copy strike me, go ahead.
Let's go. Copy striking.
So yeah, for Twitch it would be GilOnV, and then for YouTube it would be Gilga Smash.
Okay. Mab, you have nothing to shout, right?
No,
No.
nothing to shout out.